Hello, 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 and welcome to the tutorial on how to use Sales Navigator. If you've never used Sales Navigator before, it's sort of LinkedIn's own tool for helping you find leads on the platform, help you find companies and specific people inside companies. It contains all the people who've ever created a LinkedIn account. So it allows you to target very specific companies and very specific individuals inside those companies even. If you've never used Sales Navigator, there's going to be a text here in the top right corner saying try premium for free. That's going to allow you to get one whole month for free. But if you're currently using some other alternative, Recruiter Lite or basic plans, you can go to For Business and press this Sell with LinkedIn. Both the Try Premium for free and the Sell with LinkedIn will open up LinkedIn's own page. And it's a lot of information on this website, but you can ignore it all and just navigate here to compare plans. Once this opens up, you will see three different alternatives. All of these are, of course, by Sales Navigator, but it's if you want to use all these extra features, which you won't need for our software, where you only need the core price plan. And if you press Start a free trial, you get 1 month for completely free. Once you've signed up for that, this little symbol Sales Nav will show up on your LinkedIn profile. Let's click it. Now we get to the Sales Navigator section, and this can also be a little bit confusing, but it's very easy. There's only one real thing you need to do. You need to press search and lead filters here. Okay, lovely. Now that we're in Sales Navigator here, let's look through the alternatives. We have company, where we take information about the company itself. It can be company headcount, meaning how many employees do we have. We have things like current company, so we can search for a specific company. Let's say one of your previous customers here, Bright Sales, you can exclude that so you don't contact your existing customers. And you have past companies, company type, company headquarter location, if that would be different. Things like role, so this is the individual you're trying to reach. If you're trying to reach the CEO, the sales director, etc. We have personal here, which is about geography. Where in the world is the people you're trying to connect with or the company you're trying to connect with located? And I think that's a quite good one to start with. So for me, it would be, for example, Sweden is where we located. So let's take that as an example. And here we can select, different states inside Sweden. But let's go with all of Sweden. And now here we get 4 million results. And of course, if you try to market to everyone, in the end, you're marketing to no one. So we need to select an industry as well, but specific industry we're marketing to. And let's say marketing agencies or media production. So marketing services, that sounds quite good to me. And for example, media production, that sounds perfect. People who help others with marketing online. And now we see we have 40,000 results. K stands for 1,000, and we have 40,000. So these are basically all the people in Sweden that works with marketing in some form or fashion. And the thing here is that all these people aren't decision makers. All these people can't, make the decision to use your services. Some might be a normal office worker. Some people here might even be, the groundskeeper at this company if it's a larger one, or a security guard. So we need to select the specific people in charge. And here it's super important to do some research about your company and which type of people that make the decision if they're going to buy your service in the end. So, for example, if you say sell office equipment, it could perhaps be, someone like the office manager that makes the decision there. If it's a sales program, it could, for example, be the sales director, or it could be the sales manager. So it's very important to do some market research and figure out inside each company which different type of people can make that decision. Normally, there's several similar titles. So sales manager might be very similar to market manager. So market manager would be, in a specific area who's in charge of that. It could be sales communication manager. That's for larger companies, people who communicate the sell to low, Microsoft, IKEA. They have a specific title for sales communication manager. So play around a bit here. Do some Googling, ask other people in your industry, who is it that makes the decision? But I think here, in our case, we're going to target a bit smaller companies. Because, if you target a really big company, it's not going to be the CEO who makes the decision in the end. But if we're going to target, a bit smaller company, a company that has, 1 to 10 employees or 11 to 50, it might really very well be the CEO who makes that decision. So let's do with some here, like Chief Executive Officer, that's CEO, include. Let's do, for example, founder, owner, and here we see we have 3,000 results. And the thing is that you want to try to make this number be between 1,500 to 2,500. And why is that? And the reason for that is because for some reason in LinkedIn, they're not the perfect, software, because they only load the first 100 alternatives. So no matter if you have 4 million here or if you have 3,000, they're just gonna load the first 100 pages. And on each page here, you get 25 different results. So if we do some quick math, 25 different people times 100 pages, that's 2,500 people, which LinkedIn maximally can load in. The reason they do this is probably, to save some space on their servers. So if someone makes a search for, 100 million people, it won't explode. So they only load in the first 2,500. Meaning if I were to do a campaign now with 3,000 people, the last 500 people will never get contacted here. So that's why I usually always try to keep it below 2,500 and keep it above 1,500. And what are then some tricks in which we can lower that number? Well, company headcount is a great thing. If we, for example, press here then, 1 to 10 people, 11 to 50 people, yeah, that's a bit smaller company. Here, probably the CEO or founder makes the decision. But now we are below 1,500. Let's add some more titles. A very common thing to keep in mind is, for example, that I'm targeting Sweden right now, and most people in Sweden, they might not, write the English word founder. They might write the Swedish version of that. So let's jump into Google Translate and route something like founder. Then we get grundare. Okay, let's try adding that, because you don't need actually to have one of these predetermined, like, sales director. You don't need to press everything. You can just write grundare, which was our example. Bam! And now we jumped up a bit. It didn't jump up more than 100, because then we would see 1000.100. So it jumped up a bit. Let's try some else. Let's try, owner. That would be ägare. Okay, we still haven't gotten big enough. Let's try the Swedish version of CEO then. That would be VD. VD. Or VD. Okay, we're still not jumping up big enough, but 1,000 still works. That's still, it's not heaven on the earth. What we could add then is, people like the co-owner. Include. And that jumped us up quite a big. Reason things you will learn with time. Reason why I don't usually include the term co-owner. That is because some people, might just invest in different firms. They might invest in this one, in that one, and third one, and fourth, and then they become co-owner of all those different firms. So sometimes with co-owner, it will be a person who's actually working at the company, who's invested in them and can make this decision, but sometimes a co-owner is just an investor. But let's add, the Swedish version then of co-owner, because we're at it. Delägare is. Okay, sounds good. This is, now this is good enough to just take, copy paste, and move on to the next step and start our campaign. But for safety's sake, I'm gonna teach you some extra things now. So you don't need to take in any extra information if you don't want to, but let's teach you some extra tips and tricks. That would be, for example, we want to just make sure that some of the people that show up here actually are the people that we're trying to search for. So there aren't, a person that's not matching our description. So, for example, let's scroll. I think everything looks quite good here. Let's jump down a bit further down the line. Yes, sounds good to me. Looks good. Here, Ramlier, what is that? That's perhaps not something we're really looking for. So what we can do then, if this were something we weren't looking for, is we can write here, Ramlier, right that, and then if we hover it, there's an X mark. Now Sales Navigator will exclude all the people with this specific title, meaning it can be really good if you're searching for, someone in the HR department because you're trying to hire people. Then it can be really good to, exclude intern or trainee and things like that, because they can really muddle up the result. But once you've checked through a bunch of these and just made sure that everything looks good, you can move on. But now I talked a lot about how we bump up the results, how we go from 1,000 to 1,500. What if the case is that there's just too many people? What if we're not targeting Sweden? Maybe we're targeting USA, a really big country. Then a trick you can do, because as we see here, 34,000 people, that's just way too many people. That won't fit it, go below the 2,500 limit. What we can do then is here and go to current company. And we can use the same thing we used before and just write a name that must be a part of this company's founding name. So, for example, this company here, or Alan, he works at Ultra SLO. So if I write Ultra here, his company will show up in the list. But since we're targeting marketing agencies, let's do media. I think that will get us some results. Ah, look at that. We got lowered it quite a lot, but maybe that's even too much. We could do something like marketing. That will bump it up again, but what if we do agency? Because agency can be, SEO, it can be many different things, and let's exclude that. Okay, that bumped it down a little bit. Maybe we skip the marketing one. Okay, still a bit to one. Lighthouse Media Productions. Okay, GFO Media. So I really recommend, jumping into some of these and just reading about them. Pressure Agency, Necessary Media, Silver Strike Media, Sound and Vision Media. This sounds like we're Boston Video Production. If you're searching for Boston Video Production, Boston blah 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 blah. Okay, maybe we're not specifically targeting, video production studios. Then we can just write here video, and then we press the X. And that bumped it down some more. Maybe we can add, some sound. And if it's still too high, we can, reduce the company headcount a bit more. Okay, yeah. We're getting somewhere. We're starting to get lower. Maybe we can exclude some of this title of, less optimal people. We said before that, co-owner maybe was something that could be a bit bad. It wasn't always the best. Then let's skip co-owner then. Okay, that bumped it down some more. And then you just move down the list, until you find a number of results you're satisfied with. Because in the end, we can just do one campaign for CEO. And then we can do a second campaign for the exact same thing, but then target the people with the name owner. So it's never too late to launch an extra campaign. It's better to launch one campaign with a little too few people than a campaign with just too many people in it. But once we're happy, we're gonna copy this, and then we're gonna move on to the next tutorial.